Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am RishardaSamaria, and this is my New Age to Jesus series. So I was in the New Age, the occult, doing witchcraft for about 2.5 years, and I posted a New Age to Jesus video. It was longer, about an hour, and certain people in the comments said that a lot of the details helped them because it exposes the truth. So that's what this series is all about. Obviously, nobody wanted to watch a 5-hour video about every single aspect, so I'm just breaking it down piece by piece. And in the New Age to Jesus video, I more so talked about like the end experience that I went through, but I never really told y'all about how I got into the New Age, how I got into witchcraft and all of that. And so that is what this video is about. So basically, I was in college. I was in such a state of darkness and depression. I was literally about to graduate from a major that I genuinely hated with my guts. I was perpetually single, and I felt like at that point I was going to be single for the rest of my life. And I had literally terrible friends that talked about me behind my back. I was getting betrayed and stuff like that. And life was just literally terrible. I wasn't looking forward to what was to come because I felt so defeated. I felt like that was all that life had in store for me. And so basically the devil came when I was at my most vulnerable point. I was scrolling down Instagram one day and I saw this girl that I follow, and she talked about a tarot reading that she got. And she talked about how the reader, she told her her past and her present, and then she told her what her future was going to look like. And that's what familiar spirits is about, what I learned later on. So the spirits, when people get readings, they say, okay, spirit, can you tell me this or whatever? And so familiar spirits are behind the readings, and they follow you throughout your life, and they're able to tell you your past and your present, and then lie to you about your future to get you off track on a completely different track. And so once that girl told me about the tarot reader, I started following her, and about 5 to 7 months later, I got my own reading. Now, when I got my own reading, that was about like 2 weeks or so before I graduated, and I was about to move to Chicago and start a new job. And so she just like basically leave everything behind, start a new life, like get rid of as much stuff as you can. You're starting new. And she was just like, cut off all of your friends, do this, do that. And so I literally follow all of her advice. And she told me that certain great things were on the way. She told me that, I was going to meet all of these new friends when I got to Chicago, that I was really just going to enjoy life, enjoy my job, make all this great money. And then I would leave that job when I turned about 27, 28, go to a high corporate position, then leave there and start my own business. And so even though I follow all of her directions or instructions from what she said that would lead me to this, great life, I never experienced it. Like, I literally had stayed so lonely that I started to regret that I cut off the terrible friends. At that point, I'm like, okay, I would have rather had bad friends than to be this lonely. And then my job, like I said, it was a major I didn't enjoy at all. So obviously I didn't enjoy the job. It's like I got more and more depressed. But since she said, okay, you're going to stay until you're about 27, 28, I'm like, well, I'm stuck here for like 5 years or however long. So in that moment, she literally renewed my hope, and, it was like I wasn't out of the depression yet, but I felt like, okay, there's hope for me to get out of the depression. There's hope for me to have a much better life and not go down this same path that I'm headed down. So following that reading, maybe like a month or so later, I realized that they had tarot readings on YouTube. And so I got into those more. And then later, like maybe 2 months later, I ended up buying my own deck. And so then I visited home and went to my mom's house. So when I got to my mom's house, I was excited about the cards and everything. I tried to give her a reading, and she like, no, those are demonic. Throw those cards away, because she's Christian. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, she just exaggerating. These cards truly helped me. And then one day, maybe 2 weeks later, she was out and about, and this random woman that she didn't know came up to her and told her, like, God told me to tell you to tell your daughter she needs to throw those cards away. And so, my mama came back home and she told me to throw the cards away, and I did because I was living in her house at the time. So I threw the cards away, but in my head, I'm thinking like, Christians exaggerate so much. Like, these are just cards. And like I told y'all, the reader, she renewed my hope. So in my mind, I'm like, she pulled me out of the darkness. She literally saved my life. And it's like, I didn't want to let the cards go. I didn't want to truly believe like it could be bad because I had attached so much good to it. She gave me hope. She told me all these good things were going to happen. So when I finally came to Christ myself, I read so many times in the word, literally all throughout the Bible, like God emphasizing, don't serve false gods, don't do divination, don't consult them, don't consult the dead. They use spirits and your ancestors and stuff like that. Don't consult the dead and don't do this and that. And so I realized like they weren't exaggerating. God gives us multiple warnings in the word because he knows how much it leads to the path of destruction. And so basically I entered a cycle of things that never truly happened. I entered a cycle of tarot readers telling me that things were going to happen and then me getting my hopes up and then it never coming to pass. And there's a lot of, like I said, they sell you a dream, but there's some tarot readers that are bearers of bad news, but most of them always told you, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Like Oprah, you get a car and you get a car. It was kind of like that. And the reason I kept being so susceptible to it is because I was in such a state of darkness still that every time someone told me something good was going to happen, it's just like, I need to hang on to this hope. Like I needed to hear that good things were going to happen, even though, my reality was looking exact opposite. So when a lot of the things never came to pass, you would see people asking in the comment sections or in the live videos like, okay, you said this was going to happen and never happened. You said this was going to happen. And they would get super defensive and say, well, energy changes. And that was the energy at the time that I pulled the cards. But so you're saying like for 2.5 years, the energy just kept changing to the point where nothing good could come out of it. But it's also kind of like I said in my Mercury retrograde video, you can't blame the cards when there are certain things that you're supposed to take action on. So that's what I learned when I came over to Christ. Yes, he gives you a big prophecy. He tells you what your life is going to be. But from there, you have to take action. You have to move forward on that. And I wasn't truly doing that. I was trying to heal. I was literally desperately trying to heal. But other than that, I wasn't taking steps toward those big promises. And I wanted to blame it on the cards, but it was me and the familiar spirits just lying to me about what was about to happen. So God said in his word that it's a false prophet when their prophecies never come to pass. So they can predict everything that they want. They could say it in the name of spirit. They could say it in the name of Jesus. And you will know it's a false prophet if it just never happens. So when I came over to Christ, he basically revealed the plans that he has for my life. He revealed to me a part of my destiny, not all of it, but he provided me like a prophecy of what is to come, the big thing that is to come. And with God, the difference is he watches over his word to perform it. So in Jeremiah 1, he says that he watches over his word to perform it. And in the word, he says, I am not a man that I should lie, and neither the son of man that I should repent. And no word of mine return back to me void, but they accomplish that for which he purposed it. So everything that he says is going to happen, it will happen. But you have to walk in obedience to his will and follow behind him to ensure that you get to that promised land. But yeah, y'all, so more about the tarot aspect. I literally had become so dependent on tarot that all common sense literally went out the window. All discernment literally went out the window. So a quick example is I was studying for my CPA exam, and I mentioned that in my Mercury retrograde video as well. And basically, it's an extremely hard exam, but I was putting in bare minimum effort studying. But when I pulled my tarot cards, they told me I was going to pass the exam. And so when I went into the exam, I'm thinking like, well, I prepared, I kind of tried, I studied a long time, just didn't study efficiently or effectively. And so I don't think I'm going to pass. I don't have the feeling that I'm going to pass, but spirit said I'm gonna pass. So maybe they're gonna whisper some answers in my ear during the exam, or maybe I'm just gonna magically choose the right answer every time. But y'all, that turned out literally horrible. So highly do not recommend. So another example that's not my own, but it was a podcast I was listening to near the end of my journey. And she was talking about how just like me, she had literally depended on the cards so much that she threw common sense and discernment out the window. So she was talking about how she was in an abusive relationship, and every time she pulled her cards, her ancestors will tell her to stay in that abusive relationship, even though her reality looked completely different from what she wanted it to be. And then she was telling us how other people in the tarot community or in the occult community were saying the same things, how their ancestors were like sending them off and leading them astray and just telling them things that didn't really make sense. So yeah, I literally refer to tarot as the gateway drug to the path of destruction, because just like weed, that's, they refer to as a gateway drug. Either you could choose to stay at weed or you could go experiment to all of the other drugs and stuff. But I was the one that was prey. I was gullible, and I went and I started doing candle magic and went to the ancestor altars and doing hoodoo and went to the orishas and just all of these different things. But it all started with tarot, and it's just like, okay, this isn't too bad. And it opened up my mind to say, okay, what else is out there? And I went to see what else was out there. So this is the end of the video. If you would like to give your life over to Christ, all you have to do is confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord and that he was resurrected from the grave, and you shall be saved. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and or subscribe. Give me your thoughts or your own personal experiences. And I hope to see y'all next time. Bye, y'all.